I will defeat the Powerpuff Girls, or my name isn't Mojo Projo.
Neriv Crackling Vanguard versus Omo, Sauron, and Ureni. One land. How many games do I start with the words a one-lander? God, it's every single game on Magic Online for some reason. Okay, well, we've actually got lands there. This is going to be one of those games where we don't really do much of anything until much later on. I just can't get into ramp today for some reason. Don't even have surveil lands to go after. Yeah, I think we have to mulligan, unfortunately. Probably into a hand with no mana in it. No, actually that's pretty good. We'll get rid of the Legion Loyalty. Missing white mana, unfortunately, so hopefully we'll be able to get into that soon enough. Well, Professional Facebreaker will hopefully be able to get some tokens in for us, some treasure tokens to fix the colours. Sword of the Animist is nice, especially if we can eventually get it equipped onto the Professional Facebreaker. So that's a decent curve we can do. We can go for the Facebreaker next turn, hopefully get into a fourth land and equip it up so that we can ramp twice with it. A Sol Ring for the Dragon player, the last one. We want to have fast mana, and an Elemental Bond to keep his hand full. Over here we've got non-basic lands, a Bonder's Enclave, Lair of the Hydra, and a Thespian Stage. Decides to play Wayward Swordtooth. I assume he's got another land to make, and he does. That is a high market. A Wayfarer's Bauble. Do we go Wayfarer's Bauble instead of the Facebreaker then? Because it's just a guarantee that we can get into the land we need and then hopefully still equip up this next turn. It'll be onto the Apprentice though. Yeah, I think so. There's no guarantee that we'll be able to swing in with Professional Facebreaker next turn is the problem. So I'll go in at the player with a Sol Ring. Birds of Paradise for the Dragon player. And has another Dork, Delighted Halfling. Hopefully misses out on a land here. Skull Clamp for Sauron. There's a Dust Bowl here as well. 3 tap, sack a land, destroy a non-basic. And Thespian Stage. There's 2 of those, so that must be Vesuva. Yes it is. So Omo into play. 4 cards left in hand, and turns this into an everything creature, this into an everything land. So, alright, we get into a land. I think... do we want to just go for our commander then? Because this thing triggers on attacks, and we don't have haste, so I think that's the best thing to do. Make this a plateau so that we've got double white. So when that enters, we get a couple of zombie tokens, and then if we're allowed through to the combat phase, we'll get a Thopter from the Loyal Apprentice as well here. Alright, and that is allowed into play, so we'll go for 2 damage down the middle, Thopter to the left, and we'll hope that he blocks with Birds of Paradise, which he's absolutely not going to do. But you never know, sometimes players surprise you. So depending on who we can get through to next turn, it might be worth getting down the Facebreaker anyway, because if we can hit all 3 opponents, that'll be 3 treasure. Ancient Copper Dragon does not have haste, it will cantrip when it enters, so it's going to be difficult to hit this guy again. Although, I dare say he doesn't want to block with a Death Toucher coming towards him anyway, so we could still do it. Sauron just passing through the turn again with 4 mana held up. Made a couple of lands again. Hull of Storm Giants is another man land. Balagad Sanctuary. And he does have the City's Blessing now, so this should be able to swing in. Omo Queen of Vesuva swings in down the middle. So it can make itself an everything creature. And makes the Dust Bowl an everything land. After that, Maloku. You can bounce a land back to your hand and make an illusion token with flying. Right, what can we do here? There's a land we can make if we don't get one off Neriv. So we can probably get through to all 3 opponents here, which makes me want to go for the Facebreaker. Then we'd have 5 mana after that, 6 with a land. We're not going to get that much off Neriv, but we're setting up at least, so yeah, go for the Facebreaker. It might be an idea to hold back our commander as a Flying Death Toucher because of this, but whatever, let's go through. We can always hold back a Thopter, I suppose, here. Could bounce back a land here in order to block so we don't get as many treasure, but well, that's fine. He might not have too much else that he can do because he's got 2 cards in hand only. He can soon get his lands back into play. Let's go Neriv to the left, Goblin down the middle. And then I'll just take one Thopter in here, even though it could trade an illusion. So that triggers the Neriv, and we'll exile the top 2 cards here, which shows us a Curse of Opulence and Dan a Nimpakal. Probably best to get that in before we attack in next turn. Decides to allow our commander through. And oh, this itself has flying. Okay, I just assumed it didn't. Doesn't look like it has flying in the artwork, but oh well, whatever. We get 1 fewer treasure token then. So that is 2 triggers on the Facebreaker. And we don't have a land to make, so let's go for the Raucous Theatre. And Thalise. Sure. Yeah, we could make a few tokens next turn, actually. Especially if we go for an Impakal and the Curse. So let's keep that on top. There's no means of us protecting our board at the moment anyway, so Curse of Opulence can go on to the Dragon player. And that's whenever any player attacks in over there, they'll get a gold token, which are even better than treasures, because you don't have to tap them. And an Impakal like Adeline, you don't have to attack with this, so it can just sit back and make gnome tokens for you. Just need to pray that we don't see a board wipe now. Looks as though we've got a dragon on the way, thanks to him being able to keep those dorks in play. Only got 3 lands over there, it's a very fragile board state. Ureni will trigger upon entry, and it will draw him a card as well. Another quick cat update, just skip ahead a couple of minutes if you don't care. We've just bought a house that needed renovating, for those of you who don't know, so you'll have to excuse the conservatory that's a storage area here. The cat you seen run off into the distance there, we have dubbed Jinx. Now, she started showing up to our house a few months into us living there. We leave the door to the conservatory open at night so that Lucy and Billy have some shelter at night if they need it. And all of a sudden, this big fat black cat started showing up out of the blue for some reason. She looked a bit scruffy and overweight, so we just assumed that the owner was overfeeding her. Now, my mum, funnily enough, pointed out that she might be pregnant, so we felt underneath her and realised that, yeah, that's true, she probably is pregnant. Stupidly, I didn't think of that myself. So we took her to a cat sanctuary, and 4 days later, she actually gave birth to 3 kittens. 3 very big kittens, according to the vet. They were amongst the biggest kittens she's ever seen. So we've decided to adopt Jinx. The kittens already have homes available for them to go to. But yeah, she obviously saw our nice quiet home as a good bit of sanctuary, plus she had the freedom to come and go as she pleases, and a free bed. So it's kind of turning into a crazy cat house now. I'm not taking on any more. I've already told my dear lady that it stops here. We've got 2.5 cats. Lucy, Jinx, and Billy is always here, even though he's the neighbour's cat. But we did right by her. She was days away from giving birth. In hindsight, she would have been fine looking after them herself in the conservatory, but we didn't know if there was going to be any complications, so she's in the right place. She'll be in the sanctuary for a few months, and then they will vaccinate her and chip her and everything. Oh, I should point out that we did make sure that she wasn't chipped. We had someone put pictures out on social media in the local area and all that, and no one to this day has come forward and claimed her. So we are adopting her and going through all the proper procedures and everything. She was very scruffy and tatty, so I think she's a stray, and either way no one's claimed her regardless. So Jinx is the new addition to the family, and she'll be with us at around June time, so there's your cat update. And manages to land himself a Drakuseth. That's 7 mana he just cheated in. Luckily he doesn't have haste, but draws another card, so he's keeping a full grip. The 6/5 swings against the flyer. Is he forgetting that this has flying as well? It really doesn't look like it has flying. That's probably worth a chump block off an illusion, if he wasn't going to do that already. Yeah, so he does decide to bounce a land, make an illusion, and chump block. This definitely should have gone down the middle. Even if you didn't know this had flying, you still know he can make an illusion. In the darkness, bind them. So when that enters, create a 3/3 Black Wraith with Menace and the Ring Tempt You. That's chapters 1, 2 and 3. Then on chapter 4, for each opponent, gain up to 1 target creature they control, untap it, gains haste, the Ring Tempts You. A Worldly Tutor during the main phase for Omo. Searches for a creature, puts it on top. Then taps down the Bonder's Enclave to draw into the Seaborn Muse. You can't afford to play Seaborn Muse though. So instead it shows us a Dowport Mage. When 1 or more other creatures you control leave without dying, draw a card. So So he's got some flicker shenanigans in this list, probably for his Omo. Although when he flickers Omo itself, it will get the ETB upon re-entry, but not the counter off itself when it does so. So that was always a bit of a clunky mechanic whenever I was playing Omo. Then decides to bounce a land to make an illusion token, so he's probably got another land drop, he can just throw it into play here. The Thespian Stage. The commander swings in down the middle. 3-3 versus a 1-5. So we draw into Thalisei. We'll see what we get off the Neriv. I think I want to get down Caesar just so that we can make soldier tokens and see even more cards with Neriv. It's a lot of mana, but it means that we're looking at more stuff here. So the Loyal Apprentice triggers for a Thopter. Probably only going to be able to get through to one player for a treasure token with the Professional Facebreaker, but that won't count towards Neriv anyway. Oh no, actually we've got Death Touch, haven't we? So make it 2 players. The Thopter goes like that. And we could just go Professional Facebreaker actually, because it's got Menace and hold back as many flying blockers as possible. Yeah, there's no point going elsewhere, so Caesar can go on the stack first. We can decide the modes on that upon resolution. And in Pakal, and we'll get a token with the curse as well. Oh, actually, oh damn it. Should have gone with Neriv before the other token generators, because we're not seeing as many cards now. That was the whole point in doing all that. Yeah, thinking about the stack is important apparently. Anyway, the Golem token, there's nowhere to swing it in really. It's the first plus counter on that, so whatever, just swing that down the middle as well. Yeah, should have been seen 2 additional cards there. Should have put Neriv on the stack first and then Caesar and the rest. Use the ability, let's sacrifice a Goblin token and we'll create a couple of soldier tokens and draw a card and lose a life to try and get into spot removal. Probably not going to happen, but we'll try it. And the 2 tokens can swing down the middle because he's got fewer blockers. And we've drawn into Agate Instigator, which isn't going to do much of anything here, unfortunately. Hopefully we get through to a couple of players and make a couple of artifacts, because I will be likely going for Thalisei then. So just decide to block the gnome. That's the only gnome we've got, but we'll be able to make more next turn, hopefully. But I'm not sure most of our board is going to stay intact thanks to a Drakuseth next turn. So we hit 2 players, make a couple of treasure tokens, and go through to the second main. And haven't made a land yet, so play that command tower. And instead of the Swiftfoot Boots, we could keep our commander in play with the Swiftfoot Boots. And then maybe play Anok Strike Leader, so that we can try and keep our tokens available. Especially with Drakuseth incoming. Yeah, that's probably a better idea, as much as I want to get down Thalisei to make an army of spirits. Protect our commander with the boots, and then get down the Strike Leader. The gold token we'll be able to get during combat. The treasure is after combat, so I'll keep that in play so that our commander can see more tokens. Utopia Sprawl is some more ramp. They're still only on 4 lands over there by turn 6. A very fragile mana base. Followed by a Scroll Rack with 5 cards in hand, so can swap cards from his hand on the top of his library. And Stormscale Scion. 4/4 flyer. Other dragons you control get +1/+1, and that is Storm, so he's going to get another copy of that. Or another 2 copies of it, so 3 in total. +3/+3 to his dragons. Don't think the size of his dragons particularly matters to us at the moment, but each of them will trigger the Elemental Bond, because this triggers on tokens entering as well. So now I'm going to wait for my opponent to swing in and likely target some of our stuff with Drakuseth and then see if it's worth cracking this. The Ancient Copper Dragons are 9/8, the commander's a 10/10 with Trample. A 10/10 Drakuseth, that's coming in towards us anyway. Commander's to the right. Ancient Copper Dragon down the middle. So let's see what happens with Ureni. He's going to have Drakuseth trigger and resolve first, which makes things a bit more difficult. Yeah, I thought we'd be getting targeted with a bunch of stuff here, so... alright. I thought we'd lose some non-creature tokens, to be honest. This actually isn't the worst. He's going after the Thopters and the Illusion to try and get damage through. Alright, and that player just decides to scoop, because why wouldn't you? Alright, so let's sacrifice here so that we can make our tokens indestructible and make some blocks. We're going to get fewer tokens, treasure tokens, from the Facebreaker now. And this thing is more likely to get blocked because he's got tokens to throw away. And then with Ureni, this is on attack, luckily, not on dealing damage, so he's still got himself into an Utvara Hellkite. We just block with a couple of Thopters is fine, just in case. I don't know, he's not going to get through anyway, but they're indestructible, so it doesn't matter. Ancient Copper Dragon has managed to land, so see how many treasure he gets. Managed to get a roll for 20, so that pretty much sums up Ureni's game so far. 8 cards in hand and 20 mana. Plays Dracogenesis after that. You can cast dragon spells without paying the mana cost. I actually forgot this card exists. So there's Mirim, 6 cards in hand. He's going to draw more when these enter, and they're going to get doubled up. Scourge of Valkus, that's probably the end of the game for us. He's going to get a copy of it, and then it's damage equal to the number of dragons, I think. Yeah, so that's just straight to the face. So the token entering triggers both of them, both the original and the token, so he's just going to fling damage to our faces. Old Gnawbone as well is going to still enter with a copy. He'll only be able to keep one of them, but Scourge of Valkus doesn't care about that. Gets this player out of the game, and then we just get kicked out into the lobby immediately, so I'm assuming that we got taken out there as well. Our opponent had a lot of dragons in play. If he hadn't done it then it would have been imminent anyway. So yeah, I really like the idea. Found that a lot with some of the commanders from this set. I really like the idea of the Crackling Vanguard, but it's just not going to keep up with the likes of Ureni that's cheating down tens and tens of mana. So I got to see a little bit of what we want to do in the deck. I messed up on the stack at some point, but I doubt that would have made any difference whatsoever, because Ureni was sticking in play and getting a bunch of stuff into play for free, like we said. Hopefully you all enjoyed the game as ever, and a big thank you to the patrons as ever as well for supporting the channel and keeping me going with these videos. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.